Happy Friday, everyone, and really good questions this week. I'm trying to group some of them together because, first of all, 8 of you had nearly the same question because sometimes I open my mouth probably a little too soon. So, we have a new feature in the SIM-IPE. It's actually been shipping for probably around 4 months now, but you can export the information out of your SIM-IPE into an Excel file. So the first question one of you asked was, what was that software you used? Well, just Google Putty. And look at that. Google's a lot better speller than I am, and you'll figure that out later in this video. But you're going to see Putty. It's a SSH and Telnet client, and just click on it, and you can just download it right there. But then we're going to grab our SIM-IPE and go ahead and power it up. And I'm going to go discover device. And we're just going to let that discover for a second. And while it is, we're going to open up Putty. And I already have this set up here. That's the IP address of my SIM-IPE, and I'll show you how you can check that in a second. Port 23, we're going to do a Telnet session. And so while we've been sitting here, it's discovered 23 devices out on my network. Now, if I was really smart, I'd have shown you how to find that IP address before now. So at the end of this, I will show you how to figure out the IP address of the SIM-IPE. No, this will work perfectly fine. Because another question along that lines was, does it store the list when you power it off? No, it does not store the list when you power it off, but you can disconnect it from the network. Or in this case, I can back out here, and I can go down to prepare address. And then I'm going to go down to my network setup. And right there, 192.168.1.100. So there's where I'm getting that from. And so now we're going to hit the open button. And then the next question somebody asked me is, why didn't you maximize that so we could have seen the whole output? So voila, now we have a maximize button. And the main thing I was doing in that one was this CSV file right here. So if I put C, enter, then that gives us this pretty output right here. So it's the comma separated format. And then up here, I can right click Putty and we can copy all to clipboard. And then you can open up your favorite spreadsheet app, and there's nothing special about Libra. It's just a really independent one we use that we can install really quick on these images if somebody has a question, is now we can just right click and paste. That's going to bring up this dialog box here, and we're seeing the exact same info that we were seeing in Putty, but it's asking us, how exactly do you want me to delimitate this? And the main delimitator we're going to want is that comma right there. So I'm going to press the OK, and that gave us this data right here. Now, along with that, somebody said, well, why didn't you go through all the other options? Oh, because these informal videos are really just showing what I'm actually doing here in the lab. And I needed that one. But it's on my list. I'm going to do an updated video showing some of the new features of the SIM-IPE. Probably the other big one we used this week was that sorting feature. And honestly, it even caught me by surprise just how effective that was for what I needed to do. But the other options here are device info, active configuration, list networks, and then we actually have a text-based output instead of the CSV one. So I'm going to type I, enter, and that's going to tell me that there's the serial number of my SIM-IPE, and mainly, a lot of you are asking about this revision number. Now, asking about the revision number because you want to know how to get this feature on. And so you can't do this yet, but I'm going to show you how to get the revision number and the series on your SIM-IPE as well. But while we're at it, there's your Mac, but also there's your battery voltage so we can see how low it is. We can see the number of devices that are discovered. And yeah, some really cool information. You can pause and read the rest of that if you like. All right, the next one is the active configuration right there. So I'm going to type A, enter. And whoops, got my scroll a little bit too excited there. Let me go over here and grab this bar and try to scroll instead. Oh, look at that smooth scrolling, folks. And it says right now we're using IP network 1. We're going to go look at that in the SIM-IPE in a second. It tells me the SIM-IPE's IP address, subnet, and gateway. And then these are the IP addresses I have stored based on things that I have been doing. Now, to get this feature, you need to have version 2025-040. And to figure out what version we have, we're going to back out to the main menu, and we're going to go down to Options, and then we're going to go down to About Device. And there we see this is 2025-121. The other big thing that you need to know when you contact me is this series. It needs to be a Series G for this upgrade. Now, in order to get the upgrade, you do have to send it back to us. And we don't have it where you can actually download it off of the internet. And that mostly has to do with cost. That would increase the cost of the components. We'd have to increase the memory, and we try to keep the product economical for you. But two things you're gonna need to send me if you want that upgrade is, one, your order number. Yes, you have to actually order it from us. You cannot buy it off of eBay. I know somebody complained the other week, I bought this thing off of eBay. I think it should be fully supported. Well, no, nah. Can't do that. The other thing you need is that series number. So just snap a picture of the about and send me a message. The next really hot one for the week was ignition. We got ignition training coming up here in a few weeks, and yeah, that's been a really exciting topic. But yeah, first of all, we got Curse Controls, and if you don't know Curse Controls, you ought to check out his YouTube channel. But he asked, have you ever worked with Ignition Maker? And yes, I have worked with Ignition Maker, and it is really cool. And most of you out there have some crazy household project. That's what it's designed for. Okay, you do this for a living, but you want to do something at home. Yeah, that's exactly what it's for. Now, I don't do videos on Ignition Maker because I always kind of feel that's right on the edge of crossing the line. So it is for 100% non-commercial purposes, and I feel that probably I'm in that realm of the 2-hour free trial as far as doing videos with you. But really cool. You should check that out. Along with that, we have Dragon Mayors asked, what's my opinion on Ignition versus other SCADA softwares? And, actually there was a couple others that had the exact same question. Two things on that. I guess it's been 3 years ago we really started developing the Ignition course, or really a SCADA HMI course, and we could have chose anything. And we researched a lot of softwares. In fact, we probably researched way too many softwares. But Ignition really, I think, rose to the top in capabilities and on barriers to entry is what I would call it. I mean, realistically, I could segue right now and show you how to download Ignition, and we'd be off and running. I can probably have you off and running Ignition in about 15 minutes, which is really cool. But also we saw it was the one that had probably the largest newer install base, and there were a few others that were in a dead heat, but yeah, overall, yeah, I thought it was the best one. They aren't paying me to say any of that.
Of course, we always have to have one. So we got Andrew McClung, and yeah, I'm sure I brutally did your name, but I get the feeling by the end of this post, you'll understand why. What operators do you want fiddling in the cabinet? Not something I support. If you have to go in the cabinet, you have a reliability problem with your system or poor maintenance. And thanks for coming to my rescue, John.
But, Andrew, here's where, I took English in summer school, so my posts don't always come out great. And also, I'm from the South. So if I was to say, y'all need a SCADA system that y'all can find your problem when y'all have one. Everybody in the South will immediately know that we need a SCADA system that the operator can walk up to and tell the technician what is wrong when the plant goes down. Yes, somebody even told me the other week I talk like I have marbles in my mouth. And yeah, sorry. If you're looking for elegant English PLC technician training or SCADA training, then yeah, I'm probably not the one. Now, if you're looking for practical, common sense training, yeah, I probably can help you out. Now, the part that Andrew totally missed in that whole deal was the post was about, we have too many systems out there that say the robot's not working. Okay, we can do better than that. In fact, I'll just use the A3 since we've been working with the whole A3 blip that I was having. We can at least tell them, hey, the A3 axis has a problem. Or where we need to get to, and actually it's something I'm working with YRG right now, trying to fully understand, is YRG, not only do they know where they should be positionally, they know how much current that robot should need to get to that position. And so we need to be profiling and trending. Okay, it says we need this much current and we're taking this much current, and start leading into the predictive maintenance aspects of it. So if you want practical technician training and SCADAs, then come see me. If you want an English degree, go somewhere else. Along with that, Mark, I'm going to brutalize another name, Franjon, actually, and D.L. Lewis, both kind of along the same thing. There is a limit, and I do still believe we can do better, but there is a cost benefit analysis to building out a better SCADA system. And I get it. There is no glory in a machine breaking, and honestly, there's no glory in you being able to fix a machine faster. Now, I'm working on that. That's something we need to be able to identify, is that cost of improving reducing the downtime. But yeah, you're right. You can make a system that looks totally pretty and has zero diagnostics, and it probably does meet all the specs. But I do believe we need to start investing a lot more in things to help our systems last longer. I thought even about making a series on making your SCADA systems age gracefully. Next, we have Christian Burrell, and and I should have gave you more than a one-word answer, but I knew it would take a 2-page paragraph or this clip right here to do it. But he asked, do we follow the ISA 101 standard framework in our SCADA design philosophy? And I did say nope. And I didn't say in there that it's necessarily a bad standard. No, honestly, there's quite a bit I don't feel is great in that standard. But our training, and it goes to our technician training, and this is kind of our training philosophy. It's more about the journey of learning than it is about spitting specs out at them. Whether if you're used to buttons, your first HMI or SCADA is going to have buttons on it. And in fact, I should do this. Some of y'all catch on. Sometimes I'll throw a post out that is obviously kind of fishing for a couple of responses, but I should post a picture of this as my very proud HMI. Say, I built an HMI that looks just like my trainer. What do you think? And I guarantee you, y'all would roast me and start spitting out these standards. But my thing is, when you're transitioning, your first one will be these buttons. And then we can start learning about really I call it more the psychology, the emotion of, how is the operator going to interact with this? If you have 15 different colors, how does the operator know what to look at? Now, I don't think ISA 101 does a great job at that. Now, what I do think they do a great job at is making it where we don't have 56 colors on an HMI. But there's a couple issues. One, if we take that standard and make it, just a purist standard, chances are nobody who wrote that has ever been out on like a job site of a wastewater system. Because if you're a civil engineer, if you didn't know it, in civil engineering, they train you that if you're in the northern hemisphere, you always make sure that you place the control panels so they're pointing south. That way the sun glare is brutal on them. So just having a basic grayscale HMI, chances are we can't even see that thing. So a lot of it goes into where are we going, what's going on, what colors are they used to seeing, there's a lot more to it than I think that goes to. But yeah, I've kind of scrolled off on that one. But no, I don't follow that one. Don't disagree with it, but I think that is a later thing, and I think that's probably more of a classroom type, situation. Ours is more of that psychology piece. Now, Rad is dad. He's really cool. I met him at Automation Fair. But he apparently has gotten his first experience with the 5034 IO, which makes me very jealous. So immediately, because I can't be left out, I went ahead and got some 5034 IO on order. And yeah, we're going to do a video on changing this 1734 out to it. And just because, I had to, can't let Rad, his dad, be doing better than me. I also am getting one for over here. So we can talk about IO link over 5034 compared to the rest of our IO link options. Lex Roman 7955 asks, can you do class 1 messaging with the LC micro 850? No, you cannot. So if you need to do class 1 messaging, which is kind of the messaging where we see the devices in Studio 5000 and our IO configuration, and you're going to need a micro 850 that has an L50E in its part number, not an LC50. Also really cool, I think I've told y'all, but I didn't know, kind of got out of the loop, I guess. They have a micro 820 version of that E. So you have an L20E, which does class 1 message. Really cool. When you've got a system that may only has a couple of local IO, but you need to pick up some drives, pick up some stuff. It's still a fairly small scale system. That's a very capable PLC for the month. Also, some really nice discussion going on over on LinkedIn about how to move from industrial maintenance to control engineering. And actually, I may go on a rant video tomorrow because, as much as there's some constructive feedback, there are some downers always. But, I think Steve Carter really nailed it down. Find some place you can dive in deep with both feet. And there are a lot of places out there that really give you that opportunity. Poking around the edges will take forever. And don't be afraid to ask for help. It is absolutely true. A lot of you really kind of pushed back on that, saying, you need engineering degrees, you need time, they need experience, it took me this long to get here, it shouldn't be that easy for them. But no, there's and I was really fortunate, even before I started TW Controls, my employer really gave me a lot of leeway to try and be okay to fail, and that probably did more for me than any class ever could. It's always good just to read a success story. There's plenty of them in here, but Tom Light here. I made the jump almost 14 years ago and will never turn back. The only change for me is I went from being a controls engineer to a field service engineer. Just something that we don't highlight enough in our industry, that, if you're not happy where you're at, chances are there is some horizontal movement. It may not be vertical movement, but there's at least some horizontal movement to get you somewhere happy. And that's something that most professions don't have. But he goes on to say, for those of you who don't know the difference, most control engineers are dedicated typically to one or two different platforms. As a field service engineer, I have to be proficient in a multitude of different platforms. More often than not, I do not know the platform until I get to the job site. It is intimidating yet challenging. I have traveled all around the eastern United States and from Minnesota to Costa Rica. And I love this. I made the jump at 62. Never too old to make a career change. And also, You're never too old to keep learning.
Excellent. And yeah, scrolled on down. And I mean, there's such a rich conversation going on. But Heather Quick says the same with instrumentation. Real world and hands-on knowledge is essential to really understanding and troubleshooting control issues. And that is why everything is going to plug and play, because electrical engineers don't know how to decipher instrumentation indicator faults. They don't even know how to recognize a bad installation when they see it.
And I did. I never forget. I had one job, and I mean, here's what I really hated was, I mean, this was a super nice guy, but I looked at this one system design, and I'm like, well, what's going to happen if this goes bad, this particular part or this particular part? Oh, well, we can't have that. I'm like, oh, well, if we can't have that, then you're going to need some type of redundancy. Oh, well, no, we don't need redundancy. I don't imagine that part would ever go bad. I'm like, parts go bad, man. What are you going to do when it goes bad? Oh, well, they're just going to have to stop the system. I'm like, this is a wastewater system, man. It's hooked to a school. What are you going to do? Tell the kids to quit peeing? But, that little bit of, knowing, hey, this is going to go bad. This probe is going to get dirty. Those type of things. How are we going to work through that? That is an important part of the industry. Anyway, that's all the time I have for this week, because we're 95% of the way of getting the classroom back together, but I have to get this back together because, yeah, we have class next week. Really cool upgrades that I'm looking forward to. Actually, this is for the PLC 201 class coming up here in a couple weeks. We got our IO-Link upgrades going. We got PIDs on each trainer now. A lot of cool stuff. Have a great weekend.